Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Real quick, if you're into what we talk about here, you'll probably love the free stuff we've got waiting for you at papernapkinwisdom.com. Tools, templates, all that good stuff. It's free. Just ask. You can even head over to social. The link's in the bio.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 246. I am so glad you've joined us, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you think about sales forever. Now, imagine if the next big leap in your business didn't come from learning another new pitch or technique, but from letting go of everything you've been taught about closing. What if the real power in your sales conversation came not from pressure, but from presence? In this episode, I sit down with someone who's been reshaping the global sales conversation for 25 years. He's not only a trusted advisor to high-performing entrepreneurs and elite sales teams, he's the creator of a method that has shaped thousands land calls and deals without chasing, without scripts, and without stress. We met at a leadership retreat where his talk had people rethinking everything they thought they knew. And today, he's sharing that same clarity with you. He brings with him a simple yet profound process that fits on a single napkin, and it could transform the way you build trust, handle objections, and yes, win business. You're going to hear something today that changes and challenges assumptions, invites new possibilities, and opens up a path you may not have considered before. I hope you're ready to discover it. Let's dive in. Ari Galper, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to see you in 2 dimensions today.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, last time we saw each other, we were in 3 dimensions in a beautiful setting. The UCLA Anderson has a beautiful facility up in Lake Arrowhead, and you and I were both presenting to the CEO forum there. But you've shared a really interesting paper napkin with me, and I can't wait to dive in. So it's called the one call sale.
Yes.
And then you've got 4 points below it. But why don't we just start with the one call sale? What are you talking about when you say one call sale?
Sure. So for the audience, I specialize in a unique niche called trust-based selling, which is how to be able to compress your sales cycle and build trust with a new opportunity, a new client in one conversation. It's designed for low volume, high margin businesses that have a high trust business, but got to chase leads all the time. So I've been here for 25 years. So I spent a lot of time figuring out how can I optimize the sales process to reduce friction and reduce time. And essentially, believe it or not, it sounds like common sense, but the goal is to eliminate things from the process to reduce the time you're with somebody. So what I've come up with is something called the one call sale framework and model, which is more of a doctor-patient framework. When you're with a new opportunity, say on Zoom, for instance, there's no selling, there's no presenting, there's no education, there's no consulting, and there's nothing about you. It's only about them. You know?
So, this is really amazing. So, and that's the first step on your napkin. It says doctor-patient mindset. And this is really a different way to think about it, right? Your approach, and you're suggesting that we take the approach of the doctor, not the patient, correct?
Exactly right. They're the patient. You're the expert. They're not. So the concept here is this is not a peer, let's become friends, kumbaya, relationship building call. We are not peers. You're the expert. They're the patient. When you go see a doctor, what's the first thing it says to you? Where does it hurt? Does it say, hey, what brought you in there? Want to have a cup of coffee? Hey, I love your shirt. Where are you from? They don't try and become your friend for a reason. Because if they cross social and business norms, they can't get to the hard truth behind your problem.
Right.
So that first pillar, like you said, is doctor-patient shift and problem-centric versus solution-centric thinking.
Now, let's push back on that for a second, Ari,
Sure.
because, part of that is you have to behave like an expert, right? That's one of the things that you're setting up, that you have to behave like the expert. And that means not getting into, the nice shirt, nice hat, nice whatever, right? You're just getting into the point of the conversation. But there's another part of that is you have that status until you lose it. And don't we give it up often, like in those kinds of relationships? Like the typical model is the expert doesn't act like the expert. The expert gives up the expertise or gives up the seat way too early, right?
Yeah, because see, we've been programmed to think our job as experts is to demonstrate our expertise. We got to educate them. We got to flex. Show them we know what we're talking about. Right. Yeah. We got to prove ourselves. But in this model, they're not questioning your efficacy because they assume you can do the job because you're showing up. They're questioning this. Do I trust him? That's not about expertise. It's about your ability to understand their problem at such a deep level. They say to themselves, man, this guy just gets me.
Right.
It's emotional, not intellectual.
So once we've got this doctor-patient mindset, and okay, let's get into this one more step.
Sure.
It's a mindset, right? So what do you suggest the expert does before getting into the call? Because I assume there's a setup to that, right? Like, what do we have to do before we get in the call, before we get in the room? Either way, right? What do we have to do?
Yeah, you got to pre-position yourself as what I call the trusted authority on the problem that you solve. Not on your solution, but on the problem. And so you want your lead pre-meeting to somehow consume something that lets them know that you're the category of one, the only person who understands them the most prior to them showing up. That when they show up, they're not questioning you. Where'd you go to school? Who's your clients? There's no pummeling of objections. It's, I can see you know what you're talking about. I'm game. Now your job is to take control at hello and start going to what I call down the iceberg, the second column, peeling back the onion.
Okay, so we've established the expertise. We're showing up with the right mindset. We're showing up as the expert. Then this is step 2, go down the iceberg. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so imagine an iceberg, right? It kind of looks like this. At the top of the iceberg is when they're giving you basically a surface level problem. Here's my problem. And as experts, what do? Hasn't been not new to us. We've heard it 1,000 times. So we assess it, we qualify it, and off we go to the races. The difference now is you're not going to try to solve the problem. You're going to have a languaging, what I call trust-based languaging, to peel the onion back, to go so deep down the iceberg below the surface level that they can't help but to feel this deep connection to you because you're the only person that didn't rush to the answer. And how you do that is using trust-based languaging. So one of the samples under that second column, when you show up for Zoom, here's what you say. Obviously, nice to meet you. Govind, nice to meet you as well. Then you say, if it's okay with you, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment, walk me with your background, your situation, up to your current business concerns or financial, whatever you say. Financial concerns, we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? Take your fingers like this over your mouth. Sit back like a doctor. Let them see you physically sitting back so they understand this is space you're creating and it isn't about you today. You're not talking, it's only about them. That begins to open up the iceberg to go through a series of what I call trust-based selling questions, not fact-finding questions.
All right. So, Ari, tell me about what some of these questions would look like.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. Man, you're so good. You're quick. Excellent. So the first question, so they describe their problem to you, right?
Right.
Now, as an expert, your instinct will be, I can fix that. You want to solve it.
And you want to sell them on the solution right away.
Right.
I got
That's what you do. You're an expert.
I'm perfect for them.
Perfect. But in this model, you are not to size them up and attempt to provide an answer at all. Stay present, stay calm. And then what you do is you listen carefully and you crystallize their core issue and you say, from what I'm hearing from you, Govind, your main core issue is X. Is that right? They go, exactly. Yeah. Next question down the iceberg. How long have you been concerned about this for? What have you done so far on your own to attempt to resolve this by yourself? Okay. Then the middle layer is called COI, cost of inaction. It's reverse engineering the problem. You got to help them see the impact of not solving it. Help them build a business case for why it's. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the question is essentially like, do you have an idea what this is costing you?
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Hey, did you know you can get up to 3% daily cash back on every purchase you make with Apple Card? It's not a complicated point system, just unlimited daily cash back on every purchase. No waiting for rewards and no limits on where you can use your daily cash. Use it on food, shopping, travel. The choice is yours. As an added benefit, you can even choose to let your daily cash grow over time by opening a high-yield savings account through Apple Card. Visit apple.co/card calculator today and discover just how much daily cash you can earn. That's apple.co/card calculator. Subject to credit approval, savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings in Apple Card by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch, member FDIC. Terms and more at applecard.com.
To continue in this way. Right.
Beautiful. The language you use for that are phrases like this. Have you thought about?
Yeah.
Have you considered? Are you aware of the impact your team right now by them not having this in place? Have you calculated the cost of those people you lost last month? How is it affecting you at home? You got to help them dimensionalize the problem. Otherwise, they don't see how serious it is. If they don't own the problem, they sure as heck aren't going to pay you to fix it.
Now, look, you're coming to this, Ari, with a lot of expertise and passion. Like I can see the energy. And was this always natural to you? Is this the way that you always did it? Is this, I mean, you have a lifetime in sales. Was this the way that you started selling right away?
No, this is 25 years in development. I've been building this for 25 years. I just figured this out with this kind of clarity and advanced thinking only 4 or 5 years ago. I've been toiling away at this for a long time. If you look me up online, you'll see I've been doing this for 2 decades. And I finally cracked the code on the ultimate one-call sale process, which is trust-oriented, that gets a commitment to a next step after the first meeting.
So why did you crack the code? Why was this a code that you needed to crack?
Great question. This comes from my original story that happened to me, a pivot that happened to me years ago. I mentioned the story at the event where I was on a live sales call with a new opportunity. I worked for a tech company back then, and I'll never forget this. The group I was talking to on this conference call gave me all the signals they wanted to buy from me. They told me everything I wanted to hear. We love it. Sounds great. You might recall the story. At the end of the meeting, they said, look, we'll follow up with this. Follow up with us. We'll move this thing forward. I said to myself, perfect sales call. And I reached for the phone. By accident, I hit the mute button instead of the off button. A click happened. They stopped talking. They started talking amongst themselves. What I heard was the complete opposite. It wasn't the truth. They said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him. And I realized at that moment, this is a dysfunctional process going on here where they aren't comfortable telling me the truth. They lied to me. And I said to myself, I'm going to make it my lifetime career to figure out how to untangle the sales conversation so it no longer ends up in a game that everyone's playing and no one gets the truth behind it.
Yeah. And I think that what I love about that story is the solution you made, the solution you sort of like carved out of stone really is about trust and telling the truth. It isn't about, like, you're not setting up for a lie, right? When you come up at the beginning, really actually interested in their problem and digging down into it, you're not setting yourself up as a trusted advisor. You're actually being one.
You're
right?
demonstrating live that you are not like what they expect you to be.
Right.
And you're right. The whole premise of this is about not selling at all, not focusing on the sale. I mentioned that at the talk at UCLA, I said, throw away your sales books and never attend any sales training class ever again. Selling is the problem. Stop selling. Learn a new skill, which is how to create trust with people. I don't mean you're not trustworthy. I mean, like you said, convey and prove that you don't have a hidden agenda.
Right, by putting it all out there, and by being clear, and you're exaggerating the physical cue about sitting back and covering your mouth, but it's necessary in this world because, like, the sales process is so documented, and so formulaic out there, right? And everybody's talking about funnels and funnels and funnels, and nobody's funnels work. None of these funnels work.
Look, funnels have been commoditized.
Right.
Nobody wants to go through multiple steps to get their answer solved. All they want, let me tell you what this comes down to. If you really simplify this to the ultimate goal, all you want them is to feel comfortable saying these words to you. I'm in, let's do this.
Right.
Why does it take multiple steps and meetings and months to get to that moment of I'm in, let's do this? Why? Because your process does not have trust in it for them to say those words. The process is broken.
Right. Right. And I think this is what's really neat about the next one. So step one, doctor-patient mindset. It's a mindset thing. Put yourself in the place of expertise first, then go down the iceberg. Ask the questions beyond it. Make sure that you're aligned with them on what it costs not to solve the problem. What it costs, truly, what is it costing them now? And you talk about that as being reverse engineering. And that takes us to step 3 further down your napkin, which is show your roadmap. This is not a funnel. This is a roadmap. This is a process. And I love this piece. Tell us what that means. What does it mean by showing your roadmap?
Well, it's like that napkin that you've got that it shows the steps. It's a linear step-by-step process. That's a roadmap, I call it. And your goal at the bottom of the iceberg is to ask this question, to move them to the next stage, which is this a priority for you?
Right.
To address once and for all. And they say, yes, it is. You say this, may I walk you through my process and roadmap for how you work from here? Guy goes, sure. Because you've given them 0 so far about you. Just the problem only. So up comes a visual pathway that you show them, not your services, not your fees, but a meta step, a mental framework and model they can see for how you think and what your process is. Now, most experts already have a process, but the problem is they verbalize it. Oh, next step is this. We have a meeting. We do the discovery session. And they're like, in, out this ear, out the other ear. They cannot process what you're saying audibly. But when you show it to them visually in a simple napkin-like step-by-step process, they see it, they believe it. They hear it, does not compute. They get scared by it. What they say is, I want to think about it.
And this is the critical part. And this is sort of like, this almost helps you with step 1, too. Documenting and being able to build a simple roadmap by which you take the steps, not the solution, right? This is a very critical thing. The steps, not the solution, and diagram that from somebody from this point forward, right? That helps to build your expertise. If you can do that, if you can express your process simply, well, then you can invite somebody to join you on that trek, right?
You said a key word right there, simplicity. What I realized is I discovered we're now in the age of commoditization, okay? Right. Complexity equals distrust. Simplicity equals trust. If you simplify your process so it's so pedestrian level, it's so simple for the average person, and they can see what your process is to fix the problem. And you say to them, what are your thoughts on the roadmap, John?
Right.
Guy goes, makes sense. You're 90%
you're not
there.
Selling them anything. You're just selling them. You're conveying a process.
There's no solution. It's just the process to get to the answer.
Right. Right.
That's all they want. They want to see structure. That gives them peace of mind.
Yeah, and I think that you said something about how the roadmap has to be one slide. It has to be a one-pager. It can't be a multi-pager. It can't be a prize inside. It can't be a Kinder Egg, which you just keep on opening up, and it's another one, and it's another one, and it's another one. It's got to be evident, right? It's got to be clear.
You know what's funny? I asked my new clients to come on board with our team, and I asked them, "What? Show me your process that you have right now that you show clients." Oh my! It looks like the LA highway. It's got circles and arrows and symbols and logos. I'm like, are you kidding me? Right. This makes no sense to me. But it makes sense to me. Well, that's the problem. Who cares about you? It's about them. And I got to rework the whole thing and make it easy for them.
Right, right. So you show them your roadmap, and then you go to onboard the new client. There's no sale there, right? What are you talking about as being the final step?
It's not a signed contract. What it is a commitment. Now, it could be paid, for sure. to engage with you and schedule the next step in your process.
Right.
So let's just say, Govind, you're a consultant, and your next step would be this diagnostic needs assessment or a discovery session. Because the first meeting is not discovery. The first person is, in fact, finding goals. None of that's what we just talked about. The next session is discovery. You can charge a fee for your discovery process, the analysis behind that, and the plan behind that. 3 bubbles. So you might say this. The guy says, do you make sense? And you say, where would you like to go from here? Notice the space I'm creating. They step into it. Then they say, well, how do you work, Oven? You say, it's real simple from here. We schedule a time right now to have you come back and start with phase 1 in our process. It's a nominal one-time fee of $5,000. That's it. To have us work with you through phase 1, 2, and 3 to flesh out your situation and get a priority list together and a plan to go with from there. You say, how does that sound to you? And they go, sounds good.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 16th through the 26th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
That's great.
Zero selling.
Yeah, zero. And one of the things that I think that I'm frustrated by in the past when I'm engaging with a client, they don't want to take that next step now, and I have to follow up. So I'm in the follow-up loop, and I'm chasing them, and I get ghosted, and I think I've been there, and I think everybody's been there. How does your process deal with that kind of a thing?
Well, the 2 tips here. Let's say you're now in chasing mode. You haven't learned my stuff yet. You're still stuck in the old world, and chasing normal for you, okay? I'm going to give you everyone your tip right now to help everybody. I'm going to ask all your listeners to never again, or viewers, to never again, as of today, use the word follow-up ever again the rest of their life. The word follow-up is a sales word, right? When you call someone, have them call and follow up, what does that tell them? You're moving them towards a sale. Their guard goes up. You're a salesperson, not an expert. Here's what you say instead. I'm giving you a call or in your email to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on our last meeting, any feedback on our proposal. You have to go backwards away from the sale, not towards it. The word feedback elicits the truth. And they engage you. That's a way to bring your ghost out of the closet and back on your calendar again. Now, if you master the 1-call sale process, you'll never be ghosted ever again, because here's why. The reason why you're ghosted, because somewhere along the way in your first meeting, what you did was unconsciously, you educated them, gave them information, which now forced them to do what? Think about it.
Right.
And when they think about, here's the thing, people's minds are so fragmented right now with the world going on right now. If you input new information in that first meeting, they got to go think about it, and they go in the black hole and you're dead. It's over. That's why I'm encouraging everyone listening to this understand the process, you're learning, to remove all the elements out of this thing so there's nothing to think about. Only question they have is, do you want to solve their problem or not? Yes or no? Not to hire you.
Right.
That's not the decision to make.
So let's pretend for a second. Let's go through the process and let's just push back against it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm talking to somebody and they're part of a team. They have 10 people as part of their team. And as I go down the iceberg, they start telling me about the team, and, there's 8 or 9 people, and that they, one of the problems that they have is making decisions are so hard because, they've got this complicated decision-making process and we can never get anything done, and so on and so forth. How do you handle that information when you get it as you go down the iceberg? Because that's where it would come up, right? If you do this right, one of the problems they may have is implementing change because there's no clear decision maker. How do you handle that?
You're saying that they're not a decision maker, or are there other decision makers besides that person?
There are other decision makers in addition to them.
No problem. That'll happen in a very complex environment, a corporate environment for sure. That's fine. Yeah. You don't change your process just because of that. You still go down the iceberg, still show the roadmap, And they're going to say to you, what's the next step? They're probably say to you, well, I've got Mike, my CFO, and my CEO is going to be involved with this as well. You say, no problem. Here's what you say. Let's schedule a time for all of us, if you'd be open to it, to get together, and I'll walk them through this process like I did with you and answer questions for them, but there'll be zero presentation and zero selling, only diagnostically of their issues. How's it sound to you, Mike? They got to trust you to bring you inside of their inner circle. If you're selling to them, they ain't going to bring you in because you're a vendor. When this process is created, they shepherd you inside because they can see. Because here's the thing. They're judging you, not on your information. They're judging you on your approach. They're buying your approach.
No, hold on. Don't let that go away, because I think that's a really important piece. I think that you're absolutely right. I think that most of the time when I'm assessing people calling me, and we like you, we get called all the time, right? We're always dealing with these calls. We're always dealing with these emails. And I think that we're assessing their approach and wondering whether or not that approach is right for us, not whether or not the solution. I mean, there's a billion solutions, but is the approach something that I can trust, right? That's the powerful question. And I think that what you're suggesting is that it's really sort of like a deprogramming that we have to go through, because we're the problem. We keep on jumping to this, I'll solve your problems and just let me do it. I'll come in and take over. But that's not what people want.
We have been programmed, brainwashed, I'll use that word, from the old, what I call know, like, and trust model. Where your job is to get to know someone, they got to like you, you got to educate them, and over time, they trust you. The problem with that model is there's no time anymore. So after the first meeting, they're gone. They've ghosted you. So you have to remove the know process and the like process and only focus on the trust process to realize that they're hiring you now because you're commoditized. They're deciding on you by only what they can see and what they can hear. If anything that you present or you say to them connects you to the notion of flexing or selling, it's over at hello.
Right.
But they won't tell you this because they'll be nice to you. But in the back of their mind, they're going, this doesn't feel right.
So, Ari, I don't have 25 years. Like, you did this. It took you 25 years to decode this and reprogram yourself. And you know, I loved your story when I heard it the first time. But when we don't have 25 years to come by this honestly, and you came by this honestly, right? You solved I fundamentally believe that we're our best when we give to the world what we needed ourselves. And you needed this. And you solved this. So for someone listening, where do they start? What's the first step?
Honestly, if this resonates with people and it makes sense to them, I would start by reading one of my books and learning how to do it. Because in that book that I have, it's my new one just came out called Trust a Split Second. They can order my book, and we can offer the link if you want now or later, or whatever. And they can learn, order the book, schedule a chat with me or one of my folks on my team, and go through the process and learn how we teach you to do what we're trying to teach you, right? If you don't live it live, order our book, learn it, and have a chat with someone on my team, then you won't believe it's true. You won't believe it's even possible.
Right. So what's a small thing that they can try? What's a taster size version of this that they could try? Right. I mean, I believe that everybody can do something to get familiar with this while they're waiting for the book to arrive.
Of course.
What's the
first thing is shut up.
Sounds easy.
Stop talking. It sounds so crazy what I just said. What? But if I listen to recordings right now, most of your listeners doing a sales call or having a meeting with someone, I'd probably hear 80-20. Them talking, 20% of it. We can't help ourselves because we feel we have to engage people. So first thing is stop talking. Stop selling. Instead, identify and unpack, I call it like a tree exercise. You have a little trunk of a tree, write down the core problem in that trunk. That is that you help your client solve, and then have some branches come off the back of that. That is their sub-problems, okay? Have that visual in your mind. So when they get to you and you say to them, what are your challenges right now? And they tell you that trunk problem or the tree problem, then you know where to take it from there. Start with that piece in your mind so you're problem-centric. That'll begin the shift.
Yeah. And so the first step really does sound like build your roadmap, understand what that looks like, right? Do your trunk problem where you really understand your process. And if you don't do that, and I think if you do that, then the next part of that is going down the iceberg. Those questions become very logical because they're you have to adopt this curious mindset. And the curious mindset is you're not right for everybody. That's okay. You're not going to solve everybody's problem. That's okay, right? So get curious about whether or not actually they have the problem. And maybe, do they value the fact that they have the problem? Because that if they don't value it, if they say, yeah, you know what? I don't think this is costing us anything. It's a nice to have. It's not a good to have. Great. See you later, right?
Have a nice day, right? You have to become a heat-seeking missile looking for the problem.
Right.
Now, you'll find the problem, but here's the flip. If you don't have them own it and admit to you there's an impact to this, and if you don't ask this question, is this a priority for you, and they say, yes, it is, then you got nothing on your hands. You got air. Let them go.
Yeah. And that's hard for some people to do, right? Like, I think that's really the problem. The problem is that we're not curious enough about what's behind the problem and what our client or what our would-be client actually values the solution as.
This goes back to what you said earlier. The goal is the truth, not the sale. If you can't go down the iceberg deep enough to get the truth of where everything sits, you're playing a game at the top and you're the ball, not the bat.
Yeah. So you had that fateful sales call all those years ago where you pressed mute, and what a gift it was for you that you were able to press mute and you got to hear that. What's changed for you in your process since then? Like how's your world changed?
Thank you for asking that. What shifted is that we don't chase anybody. We have no follow-up emails, no proposals. We don't even have any contracts anymore. So I realized that the reason for agreements is because of a lack of trust between two parties.
Right.
We have verbal conversations with people that agree, and we eliminated all the resistance and constraints that anybody else is doing. And now we have endless flow of opportunity coming in because we removed the funnel process and given people what they want, which is an appointment with the specialist, the surgeon that solves their problem, not someone trying to sell them let's put it this way, being the doctor, not the pharmacist.
Right. And you know what, here's what I think is really profound about what you just said, because I think somewhere out there, someone's listening to this and going, oh my gosh, they don't even have contracts. How do they get paid? How do they know they're going to get paid? What happens if they don't get paid? And what would you say to them? And I have a sense of what you might say, but what do you say to them?
Wow. Almost everyone pays.
Right.
If they don't pay, we fire them.
Right. Because there was no trust.
We don't accept behavior that's below our standards of integrity. If we notice any behavior of clients that feels dysfunctional or narcissistic or controlling or attempting to hijack the agenda, we push a button called the fire button. You're out of there. I said, get rid of them. I don't want anyone in our world or ecosystem who does not respect and treat us like the doctors that we are.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's what's changed for you, right? People come to you for expertise. People come to you for the roadmap. People come to you because they know that you're going to help them build this together.
And right? They know they can trust we're not going to use any sales techniques or behavior.
Right. It's going to be their choice.
That they hate.
Yeah.
They're going to want to make the decision themselves. We are not going to convince them or persuade them in any way possible. They have to own it and ask us for help. Otherwise, we're not going to work with them.
Yeah. One of the things that I really got from this conversation is, the sales funnel, people think it's easy, right? You just throw things in the top of the funnel and it flows out the bottom. But there's resistance all the way through that, right? That's what the funnel does. The funnel creates resistance. The model creates resistance. And spoiler alert, who's pushing people through that funnel? It's you, right? We're the force in the equation. We're the force against that friction. In your model, there's less friction, less force. There is a simple acknowledgement based on trust and respect. And it's got to be lighter, right? I mean, there's got to be a lot less frustrating days, mind-boggling days of just banging your head against the wall, sending out 500 follow-up emails and not ever getting a response.
There is no friction at all because we don't use a funnel model. We use a cylinder model where you don't play the numbers game and put a lot at the top and spend all your time qualifying people and wasting your time. We use a cylinder concept where you only target your ideal clients, and your trust model starts from hello, and they just flow right on board. There's no friction at all.
Yeah. And that's the other part of this, right? Doctors don't treat everybody. There's a specific doctor for certain things, right? And so knowing your specialty helps you target your key clients, right? Your avatar is well known to you when you know what your specialty is. And that's the last piece of this ingredient. So when you reverse engineer this whole thing, it's really about knowing who you serve, understanding what matters, asking key questions and getting genuinely curious about it, working down that trunk, and then finally having a process that you can articulate clearly that will lead them to the solution, but not give it to them. Is that right?
Beautifully said.
That's awesome. Ari, thank you for joining me.
No problem. Anybody wants my book, they go to the trustbook.com. They start.
Yeah, we'll have all the links to the stuff that Ari's talked about is going to be in the show notes. So definitely check that out. Actually, Ari, sorry, I jumped too far. One of the things we've been doing in honor of John Ruhlin. John Ruhlin was a great fan of the show in the early days. He was on the podcast. He gave us a great gift. It's What You Appreciate Appreciates was his paper napkin. John suddenly passed away recently. And in honor of John, we've been asking every guest this season to shout out an appreciation or a gratitude to somebody or something. Who would you like to shout out today?
I'd say my grandmother. She was 101 years old when she passed away recently. She was an entrepreneur, a business person like us. And I used to visit her quite a bit, had some diary with some notes I used to always leave with her. And she left this one statement, I'll never forget it. And it applies very much now. She said, successful people are made in good times and in bad times, which means the times have nothing to do with it. It has to do with your willingness to let go of what you're holding on to, your old construct, and evolve, and willing to fall on your sword and keep learning.
That sounds like some great grandma wisdom. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Wow. What a powerful shift, right? A huge thank you to Ari Galper for joining us today and sharing his hard-won wisdom. Because when someone with over 2 decades of experience breaks down trust like that, it invites us all to rethink the way we connect, the way we serve, and the way we grow. And maybe, just maybe, something in this conversation stirred a thought in you. Maybe you started to see where you could stop chasing and start inviting. Maybe you realize that clarity, not persuasion, is what your clients are really looking for. Or maybe you're already thinking about the next conversation you'll have differently. You'll think about maybe the real power of the doctor-patient mindset in building trust. Why going deeper beneath the surface is where sales conversations truly begin. How sharing your roadmap replaces uncertainty with confidence. And how onboarding replaces closing, making the sale a natural conclusion, not a hard push. What stood out to you? What if you took that one insight and turned it into your next big result? Write it down. Yes, seriously, grab a napkin and jot it out. Then share it with the world using the hashtag #PaperNapkinWisdom. You never know who needs to hear it or what conversation it might start. And if today's episode opened your eyes to a new way of doing business, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who's ready for a breakthrough. Remember, you don't need to push to make progress. You don't need to pressure to close. You just need to trust and the courage to build it, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep leading with wisdom and keep turning small ideas into big results. And make it a great day.